Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something educators have, well, dreamed about for decades. The truly inclusive classroom.
It's that ideal, isn't it? A place where every single student, whether they're racing ahead or, still getting the basics down, gets exactly the support they need right when they need it.
But the traditional classroom model makes that almost impossible. You often end up teaching to the middle.
Exactly. Someone's either bored or lost. It forces this really tough choice on teachers.
So our mission today is to really unpack how new tools, specifically one called Squirrel AI, are trying to crack this nut. They're blending AI with, crucially, teacher knowledge.
And it's not just a small tweak. This is about leveraging data on a scale we haven't really seen before in this context.
Right. Let's give our listeners the scope here. Squirrel AI works with over 10 billion data points.
Yeah, from 24 million students' learning behaviors, it's all aimed at what they call precision education.
And there's already significant buy-in. We saw stats like 71% of teachers, 65% of students believing these AI tools are, well, necessary now.
That conviction is powerful. It tells you this is moving beyond just experiments. People see a real need.
Okay, so let's get into mechanics. How does Squirrel AI actually get beyond that one-size-fits-all approach? It can't just be like digital worksheets, right?
No, definitely not. The core is what they call a neural network knowledge tracking system. Think of it less like grading and more like diagnostics.
Diagnostics. How so?
It's analyzing how a student interacts, not just right or wrong answers, but things like hesitation time, the types of mistakes they make, skip steps. It builds this detailed cognitive model for each learner.
Ah, I see. So it's diagnosing the root of the difficulty, not just the symptom. That must be key for making learning journeys genuinely customized.
Precisely. Strategy number one is these customized learning journeys. The algorithms map strengths, weaknesses, even prior knowledge gaps, constantly adjusting.
Can you give us an example, like in a real classroom scenario?
Sure. So imagine a student struggling with, say, multiplication. The system might automatically serve up visual aids, maybe some concrete examples first. Meanwhile, another student in the same class who gets it quickly. They're automatically moved on to more complex problems, maybe applying multiplication in different ways.
And this happens without singling anyone out. If a student has, say, dyscalculia, they get the approach they need without being labeled.
Exactly. It happens within the platform, seamlessly.
Yeah.
No separate groups, no stigma. It just adapts the path.
That leads into another issue, those gaps in understanding students sometimes develop.
Yeah.
The Swiss cheese knowledge, as it's sometimes called.
Right. And that's strategy number two, concept deconstruction. The AI breaks down big ideas, like a math principle, into tiny sequential knowledge points.
Like little building blocks.
Exactly, like building blocks. Make sure you've mastered block A before it gives you block B. It prevents building complex understanding on a shaky foundation, manages the cognitive load.
So it's building a really solid structure, step by step. Less need for painful remediation later on.
Yes. And that ties into the third strategy, instant and low stigma feedback. When a student makes a mistake, the system doesn't just mark it wrong. It gives immediate, specific feedback on the screen, often highlighting where the thinking went off track.
So the error becomes a private learning moment, not a public correction.
Precisely. It takes away that potential for shame or embarrassment in front of peers. It makes mistakes just part of the process.
But how does the teacher stay involved? They can't just let the AI run everything.
No, absolutely not. That's where a feature called Live Lab comes in. It's basically a dashboard for the teacher.
Yeah.
They can see in real time an overview of the whole class, who's flying along with the AI, and more importantly, who's getting stuck or frustrated and needs that human touch right now.
So it guides the teacher's intervention to where it's most needed, making those one-on-one moments more impactful.
Exactly. It helps them use their time much more strategically.
Okay, we've talked about adapting to learning pace and style. But true inclusivity has to embrace cultural and linguistic diversity too, right?
Yeah.
How does the system handle that?
That's a critical piece. The platform includes features for language and cultural adaptations. For English language learners, for instance, it can offer a bilingual approach.
How does that work?
They can access the core concepts, the explanations in their first language to make sure they understand the idea, while practicing the associated skills and vocabulary in English. So the language barrier doesn't block conceptual learning.
That makes sense. Does it also account for different ways of teaching things, like math methods, maybe?
Yes, it does. It can adapt if a student comes in familiar with, say, the Singapore math method, and the current curriculum uses a different approach. The AI learns to differentiate between a misunderstanding based on method versus a lack of fundamental understanding.
That's quite sophisticated, being able to tell why a student is struggling.
It's incredibly helpful for the teacher. Is this a concept issue or just a different way of doing things?
This must fundamentally change the teacher's day. We saw a quote from a math teacher, James Wilson, saying he now spends time on meaningful conversations about mathematics rather than repeatedly explaining the same procedures.
That quote really nails it. When the AI handles the repetitive drill, the basic skills practice, the immediate feedback, teachers get back significant time
Time for what, exactly?
for the things humans do best. Mentorship, leading complex discussions, project-based learning, addressing social-emotional needs, the parts that require judgment, empathy, creativity, things you can't automate.
So the mechanism sounds powerful, the philosophy seems right, but let's get to the bottom line. Does it actually move the needle? What does the data say about reducing those achievement gaps?
Okay, let's dive into the numbers because they are quite compelling. A large study looking at 200 schools using the system found that the overall achievement gaps, between the highest and lowest performing students, shrank by 27% after just one semester.
27% in one semester.
Yeah.
That's substantial.
It really is. And importantly, these studies tracked results over time, and the gains seemed to stick. It wasn't just a novelty effect.
What about specific groups, like English language learners? You mentioned the bilingual support.
Yes. And the results there are even more pronounced. The achievement gap between ELL students and their native English-speaking peers dropped by 34% in a single year.
Wow, 34%.
Yeah.
That really shows the impact of tackling that language barrier head-on.
It suggests that often the barrier wasn't the concept itself, but the language used to explain it.
And there was a specific case study, too, from a metro school district.
Correct. In that district's rollout, they saw some significant operational changes. Math intervention referrals, kids needing extra, specialized help went down by 42%.
42% fewer referrals. That frees up a lot of resources.
It does. And at the same time, overall grade level proficiency in math increased by 31%. So fewer kids needing intensive support and more kids meeting the standards.
Beyond the test scores, though, what about the psychological side? You mentioned reducing stigma. How does that play out for students who've maybe struggled for years?
That's crucial. This idea of mastery over humiliation. The platform insists on mastery before moving on. For a student, maybe one with a learning disability who's used to falling behind, experiencing guaranteed success step by step, that builds real self-esteem, genuine confidence.
Because they're actually getting it, not just being pushed along.
Exactly. And because the student working on foundational skills looks just like the student tackling advanced problems, they're both just interacting with the platform that social stigma evaporates.
Which probably makes them more willing to try, to take risks academically.
Absolutely. We saw that quote from the middle schooler. I used to believe I was just bad at math. Now I see that I just needed different explanations. That shift in perspective is huge. From I'm dumb to I learn differently.
And this translates to measurable gains, even for specific challenges, like dyslexia.
Yes, there was a finding from one school where dyslexic students using the platform improved their reading comprehension by an average of 1.8 grade levels in one school year.
1.8 grade levels in a year. That's transformative progress.
It really highlights the power of targeted, consistent, adaptive practice.
Okay, this all sounds very promising. But let's talk practicalities, implementation. What does a school or district actually need to do to get this running effectively?
Well, the tech side is fairly straightforward. It runs on standard devices, laptops, Chromebooks. You need stable internet. Headphones are good for focus.
So not exotic hardware. What about the human side? The teachers.
That's where the real investment is. Teachers typically need about 8 to 12 hours of initial professional development.
Okay. And what's the focus of that training? Just how to use the software?
No, it's much more about pedagogical integration. How do you interpret the data the AI gives you? How do you use those insights to inform your own teaching, your small group work, your one-on-one interactions? It's about strategy, not just clicks.
Right. And how does it fit into the school day? Kids aren't just staring at screens all day, presumably.
No, definitely not. Balance is key. Successful models usually involve focused sessions, maybe 20 to 30 minutes daily. In elementary schools, it often fits really well into rotation models.
Like learning stations.
Exactly. Kids might rotate between teacher-led instruction, maybe a collaborative project, and then their individualized AI session. The AI handles the personalized practice part, freeing the teacher up for other high-impact activities.
Now, a really critical point. How does this interact with existing special education services, IEPs, and specialized support?
Yeah, this is a vital distinction to make clear. Squirrel AI is designed as a supplement, not a replacement.
Okay.
It absolutely does not replace special education teachers, therapists, or the legal framework of an IEP. What it does do is provide incredibly detailed data that can help those specialists track progress and tailor their interventions even more effectively. It's a tool for the special ed team, not a substitute for them.
Got it. That's a crucial clarification. Let's touch on a couple of common concerns that always come up with big ed tech tools. First, screen time.
Right. The counter argument here focuses on the quality of that screen time. It's not passive consumption. It's active, focused, personalized learning. And again, it's meant to be balanced with offline, hands-on, collaborative work. It's about optimizing learning efficiency during that focus time.
Okay, and the other big one, data privacy and security. We're talking billions of data points about how kids think.
Absolutely critical. Schools and districts need to ensure the platform complies rigorously with privacy laws like FERPA. The security protocols have to be robust. There's also the ongoing need to monitor for any potential algorithmic bias.
Bias, how so?
Well, you need to ensure the system isn't inadvertently creating or reinforcing performance gaps for certain demographic groups based on the data it's trained on or how it interprets responses. That requires transparency and ongoing audits.
Makes sense. So wrapping this up, the big picture takeaway seems to be a shift in the classroom philosophy itself.
I think so. Moving away from a model where some students inevitably fall behind because the class moves on,
Right, that sort of competitive model.
towards a space built around guaranteed mastery, where success is differentiated but achievable for everyone, just maybe on different timelines or paths.
And the engine driving that shift is this incredibly granular data.
Yes, that operational data. Understanding not just that a student made a mistake, but the pattern, the hesitation, the exact misconception, that allows for instruction that's surgical, not just general.
Which, circling back, elevates the teacher's role. Less delivery, more coaching, mentoring, focusing on those uniquely human skills.
Precisely.
Okay, so that leaves us, and you, our listeners, with a final thought to chew on. If AI like this can get so good at mapping and delivering the specific knowledge components a student needs, what are the truly essential skills that only human educators can teach? Things AI can't map or deliver effectively, like maybe advanced critical thinking, complex collaboration, ethical reasoning. Where should human teaching focus next?
That's the big question for the future, isn't it?
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.